As Quinn saw Peter's body hit the ground, a certain reality hit him. He had seen people die before, but this was the first time that someone he knew personally had died. "Peter!" he shouted. "When did he get over there?" Layla asked after hearing Quinn shout. "He must have started moving towards Quinn as soon as he saw the Dalki," Vorden said. The Dalki looked at Peter on the floor. "That's quite noble of you. It's a shame, though, since you will all be dying with him." "I'll kill you!" Quinn shouted, "even if it means killing myself." Quinn rapidly fired out multiple blood sprays. "Hey, it seems to be working," Layla shouted out. "I'll kill you!" Quinn shouted, "and once I'm done with you, I'll suck out your blood until you're nothing but a walking skeleton." He continued to shout out words of abuse, but he wasn't sure what he was saying. Fortunately, a nice surprise came to him amidst his combat. Blood spray has leveled up. Blood spray is now level 2. As it hit the Dalki this time, its wound seemed to be opening up, as more green blood was leaking out of it than before. Now that the two of them were a distance away, the group ran up to Peter to check on him. Surprisingly, even though he had such a big wound, he was still breathing. Layla cried out, "He'll bleed to death like this." "It might be best if we kill him here," Vorden said all of a sudden. The two girls looked at Vorden with expressions of shock. "Look at him, he's in pain. He's been bleeding for the last 2 minutes, and at most he only has another 3 before he's completely gone. It'll be more peaceful to get rid of him now." But the group didn't have time to decide, for they were distracted by something else. When they looked over, they saw Quinn kneeling on one knee, while the Dalki was still standing, but green blood was oozing from the multiple wounds on his body. Quinn hadn't paid much attention to it, but he had unfortunately ran out of stamina. With the increase of firepower in the blood spray, it also took up more energy to use it. He looked at the Dalki that was still standing, unbelieving that it was still alive after it had received so much damage. The Dalki soon started walking over, while Quinn looked at it directly in the eyes. Daze. Daze skill ineffective. And just like that, the last thing he could do had been tossed out the window. "Damn it! If Peter can go forward, then at least I can as well," Vorden shouted all of a sudden, as he charged in with what little power he had left. But all of a sudden, a large metallic object went flying right by Vorden's head, landing directly between Quinn and the Dalki. "You kids get back! Get out of here now! That's an order!" It was a mech. The mechs had humongous strength, and were equivalent to that of the Dalki they were currently facing. "Come, Quinn!" Vorden yelled, putting Peter on top of his shoulder. "Let's get out of here!" And with that, the two of them went over to where the others were by Peter's side. Right now, his face was much paler than before, and not to mention, his eyelids were drooping as well. Quinn knelt by his side and looked him in the eyes. "I'm sorry, Peter. You saved me." "If you wish to save him, you must act quickly," the system said. "I can save him? But these wounds are impossible to heal with no healer around." "That is indeed the case, but if he was no longer human, and a supply of blood from each of you, he would be able to overcome this fatal wound. Would you like to activate the blood ritual?" The system had given him an option at the most crucial time, whether to make Peter into a blooded one or not. Surely becoming a vampire was better than dying, right? "I'll do it," Quinn said. "Quinn, what's up with your eyes?" Layla asked. Quinn didn't know it himself, but as soon as he had accepted to activate the skill of his blood ritual, his eyes started to glow. Right after, he started to follow the instructions one by one. Please proceed by inserting the host's blood into the mouth of the target. Then, using one of the tips of Layla's arrow, he inflicted a cut on his hand, creating a brand new wound. He held his hand just above Peter's mouth, who was now barely breathing, and allowed for the blood to drip in. Peter's eyes then opened wide, and now he had red rings around his eyes. "Quinn, this isn't enough. The transformation has only just begun, but he now needs the blood of the others to live," the system shouted. "Guys, please, I need you all to do the same," Quinn asked. Just then, Peter's body started shaking uncontrollably. Quinn quickly grabbed both of his hands. "Someone hold his mouth open," Quinn shouted. Vorden quickly moved to the top of Peter's head and held his mouth open wide. The others did as instructed, and each one squeezed out the blood from the previous wound they had made before, reopening them. Finally, a result. The wound around Peter's stomach started to heal as his cells slowly patched them together. It was at a speed unseen unless one was using a healing ability. "What magic is this?" Aaron said out loud. Peter started to struggle less and less until he eventually calmed down, and his eyes were finally closed. "Is he still alive?" Layla asked. At that moment, Quinn received another message. The ritual was a success. The human has successfully been blooded 1/2. A vampire ghoul has been created. A new family has been created. What would you like to name your family? Now that you have turned someone, he falls under your ranks. He has your blood, so he is part of your family. Every vampire that turns someone has the responsibility to look after their family, the system explained. Right now, Quinn could only think of one thing. Although he had gotten stronger thanks to the ability, he now relied on one thing: blood. Without it, he didn't know how he would survive. Family name the Cursed. This was how Quinn felt at this moment in time. Just then, a loud crash was heard. As the group turned their head, they could see a Dalki on top of one of the mechs, ripping off one of its arms. "Well, well, looks like we lucked out and it's only a single spike." A voice was heard from behind the group of students, and when they turned to look, they could see Leo standing there. But right now, he had a light set of black and red beast gear on, and his chest had the design of a Japanese demon, an Oni with horns. "There will be no need to call the others, or use my soul weapon for something like this." At the second military base inside one of the schools, another meeting was taking place. "There's been a report of a Dalki ship crash landing on the planet Kaladi," Nathan reported. The tower made communications with the Dalki, and of course, they said it was a member who had gone rogue. Before Nathan could even finish his sentence, Leo stood up from his seat and bowed down in front of Nathan. "Please allow me to go. Those students are too young to experience something like this, especially on their first outing. They must be protected." As long as the Dalki had no more than 3 spikes, then Nathan was confident in him. "Faye, Haley, I want 2 of you on standby just outside the portal for their return. If any backup is needed, then you go straight through. Haley, heal anyone who needs immediate medical attention." "It seems like Dell's class is having it tough this year," Haley said. "I couldn't agree more. It's almost as if bad luck has been following them around wherever they go," Faye replied. Leo was eventually ready, unhesitatingly entering the portal soon after. The shelter had responded to the emergency response and had closed all shelter gates. 2 mechs had been sent out to look for the Dalki, with both of them arriving at the crash site. But once the mechs had discovered their location, they were able to tell Leo exactly where they were. "Men, fall back!" Leo shouted. The 2 guys in the mechs did as ordered. "Another one," the Dalki said as he saw Leo walking towards him with his hand on his sheath. The Dalki looked like he was heavily injured, but that didn't fool Leo. Using his ability, he could see the strong aura emanating from him. "Why did you fight us?" Leo asked. In response to his question, the Dalki ignored him and went in for a strike. Leo responded to his actions by pivoting forward and using a quick draw, pulling out the katana from its sheath and putting it back in an instant. The Dalki felt nothing, as his arm had been cleanly sliced off. There was no resistance like everything else before had. It was as if the sword was able to ignore all attributes.
"You!"
The Dalki pointed with his other hand.
"I know who you are. The others had warned me about you."
Unfortunately for him, before he could finish talking, its head had also been cleanly cut off. "Was this the only one?" Leo asked. For a moment, the students had forgotten to speak as they were too amazed at what they had just seen. Yes, that's the only one we saw," Layla replied. The 2 mechs soon ran forward and went down on their knees. "Thank you for protecting us, Sergeant Leo." "Don't thank me," Leo replied. "Thankfully, the Dalki was already on its last legs. You 2 must have done a good job in injuring the Dalki before I got here." The 2 soldiers looked at each other in response. They hadn't even managed to land a hit, even once. Nearly all of the wounds that were on the Dalki were on it before they had even gotten there. It couldn't have been the students, could it? They simultaneously thought. In contrast, Quinn's attention was focused on something else. His eyes were fixated on the Dalki's hand that was not too far away from them. He started walking over, and Vorden soon noticed what he was looking at as well. "Inspect."
"Dalki, a half-human, half-beast race."
"Half-human, half-beast?" Quinn looked at it with a confused expression. "Aren't the Dalki aliens?" "Inspect."
"Dalki blood. Consuming the blood will have unknown effects on the host."
"System, do you know what the Dalki blood will do?" Quinn asked.
"No,"
the system replied bluntly. "But I will tell you this. If it did harm to your body, the system would warn you." "Should I?" Quinn thought. "The system said it wouldn't hurt me, right?" "Well, here it goes." As the blood touched his tongue, a mint sensation entered his body.
"Level 1 Dalki blood has been consumed. A 10% increase in all stats. will last 1 hour.
The tingling feeling Quinn felt through his body was hard to describe, and the buff that he got from obtaining it was amazing. Quinn looked at the arm again and thought if there was any way of him taking it back with him. Unfortunately, it seemed like non-living matter was unable to enter the dimensional space. But by that time, Leo and the other two were already done with checking out the dead Dalki body. These two will escort you back to the school. Make sure that all your injuries are dealt with. As the others walked off with the soldiers, Leo grabbed onto Quinn's wrist. It looks like you stayed true to your word and you protected them, Leo said. I guess you are on our side after all. But as Leo looked past Quinn, he noticed Peter, and he looked slightly different and had a slight tint of purple to his aura, similar to Quinn. I'm still keeping my eye on you two, Leo said, but for now, go rest. Just then, as the group continued to carry Peter on their shoulders, it seemed like he was starting to wake up. As he opened his eyes, Vorden and Layla slowly allowed him to stand on his own 2 feet. What happened? He asked. I think you should talk to Quinn once we have the time and this is all over, Vorden replied. Anyway, how are you feeling? Layla asked. I'm feeling good, Peter replied. Better than usual, actually, although I am a bit hungry. Somewhere in an unknown place in a large room, there was a large rectangle table that stretched out far and wide. On the table, there were a total of 13 seats, and each one had a person sitting in them, all apart from one. It was a mixture of men and women, and they all looked all sorts of ages. But they all had one thing in common as they sat in their seats, and that was their red-colored eyes. Behind each of the seats was a single purple-colored flame, just behind them attached to the wall, and behind the empty seat, there was one that had been lit up as well. A single man sat at the head of the table and started the conversation. As you can see, the flame has been lit above the 10th chair. Does that mean he's back? But I thought he had died. No, I believe he managed to somehow find someone before he left this world, and they have officially bloodied their first, creating a new family. But why now? It's been 100 years. I don't know, but what I do know is we must find this new family and bring them in as soon as possible. Make sure they uphold our laws, and if not, we shall get rid of them all. A certain boy was creeping his way forward towards a door, and just hovering above him was something that looked like a miniature bull, a little larger than a human's fist, although this one also had tiny wings and 2 large fangs on the front of his face. Did you spot anyone, Ham? The kid asked. His name was Fex, and today he had come to the hall inside his family's castle for one reason, to go to the human world. Just then, out of his backpack, Fex pulled a small silver ring that had 10 crystals embedded on the inside and all around. I have to thank you again, Bloody Volver, wherever you are. Because of you, I can finally leave this place. He then placed the ring on the ring finger of his right hand and was finally ready to go. Wait, I think I hear someone, Ham said. Well, let's hope I don't end up somewhere too bad. Fex then rushed over to one of the square machines on the floor and tapped on top of the machine. Access code accepted. From the hallway, one of the guards who was roaming could hear the mechanical sounds coming from the room. Is someone using the teleporters? I don't remember an outing planned for today, the man thought. He quickly ran into the room, and just then, he could see Fex standing in front of the circular teleport device. Fex turned around and looked up at the man. He gave him a huge smile before saluting the man. He grabbed Ham and jumped back into the teleport circle. Ham, you need to transform. The humans will have a fit if they see you flying above me. A small puff of black smoke appeared around Ham. When the black smoke went away, it was replaced with what looked like a black dangling earring. It was round at the top, with a little symbol of a bull on it. When Fex opened his eyes, he found himself in a large dome-like building with digital signs going all across the walls, showing all sorts of advertisements. But the biggest one of them all was one that said, Welcome to Toklon City. Fex headed for the exit, as if he didn't worry about the world, but just as he reached the exit, he could see the doors to the outside where the sun was glaring. Time to put this ring to the test, Fex said. He closed his eyes and took one step out into the open sun, and nothing happened. With a big smile on his face, he continued to walk forward and started to explore the city. After walking a while, Fex decided to stop by what looked like a food shop. Perhaps I can get this thing called wine, the drink my grandpa was talking about, from this shop, Fex thought. As he went inside, he started to look around the shop in the drink section for an item labeled as wine. He grabbed a random bottle and rushed over to the counter, waiting for his turn. "ID, please," the counter clerk asked. "ID?" Fex was confused. Unknown to him, every citizen of Earth was required to carry around an ID. "How old are you, kid?" 16. "Can I not purchase this drink then? I have the money," Fex said, with an innocent smile on his face. "No, of course you can." Then, as Fex had left the shop, the clerk immediately opened up his screen and dialed the number 111. "Hello, I'd like to report someone on Bader Street. Yeah, it looks like a student who is committing draft evasion. Black hair, gelled back, with an earring. He didn't seem to have an ID on him either." Walking down the street with his backpack in his hand, Fex was smiling broadly. Of course, it had been many years since his grandpa had visited Earth, but the one thing he would never stop talking about was this drink called wine. This was why Fex put it at the top of his to-do list when he would finally visit Earth. "You're being followed, you know," Ham said. "Yeah, I can tell," Fex replied. "Did the family find us already?" Ham asked. "No, they don't smell like vampires. Most likely they are humans. But why are they following us?" Fex said. Although Fex didn't pay much attention during his lessons, there was one law that was hammered into his head. Never, under any circumstance, reveal yourself to humans. If they found out what you are, you had only two options. Bring them back with you to turn them into a blooded, or kill them. Fex decided to turn around a corner into a dark alleyway to confront the humans following him. "I know you're following me," Fex said. The two men stepped towards Fex. "Fire when you're ready," the first man said. "Looks like I might have to fight my way out of this one," Fex thought. He took a step forward, and a small, sharp pain was felt in the side of his neck. "What the—" As he looked to the side, he noticed that something that looked like a dart had been shot into his neck. Inside the dart, a green liquid could be seen. "Why am I suddenly feeling so sleepy?" His eyes started to close, and he collapsed onto the floor. Back at the castle, a certain man was sitting in a large, throne-like chair. This man was Fex's father, Lee Sanguinus. "Is there any update?" he said. Kneeling in front of him were 5 of his subordinates. "Unfortunately, it seems like the humans have managed to get to him before we could, sir," one of the subordinates said. Lee said, "The silly boy never paid any attention to his classes, yet he always listened to my father's crazy stories. Do we know where they have taken him?" "Our resources say that he was taken to one of the military bases to be admitted into military school," the same subordinate replied. "Silver," Lee said. "Yes, sir," a female subordinate replied as she stood up. Just like her name suggested, she had bright, long silver hair that was tied in a ponytail that nearly went down to her knees. "As you are the faithful blood knight of the Sanguinus family, I task with retrieving and returning Fex to us." Silver then bowed down once again. "I shall complete my task without fail." The meeting had ended, and each of them had left the room, leaving Lee with his thoughts. Perhaps this will be a good learning experience for him. Remembering his own time on Earth, a rage inside his body started to consume him, and the glass he held in his hand shattered to pieces. It will teach him just how cruel those damn humans are to the other worlds. All of the students from the expedition had been gathered and were taken to the first-year assembly hall. All they could do was talk to one another and speculate why the expedition had been canceled. A student spotted black smoke in the distance in the desert. It seemed like it was coming from a ship. "That's right, I heard it might have been a Dalki." All Faye could do was clench her fist. The report had stated that they had found both Hugo's and Ben's bodies out in the desert. They were able to confirm they had died from the Dalki. However, the other 3 in their group were never found. "Attention!" Faye shouted. The students immediately got in line and saluted her. Then a holographic screen appeared behind them. It was a scoreboard with all the team scores. "First things first, as you may know, the expedition has been cancelled," Faye explained. "What that means for all of you is that the points you had obtained in the first 2 days before the expedition ended will be your final score for this exam." "What?" Erin blurted it out, and she wasn't the only one. "Enough! There are more important things than the test," Faye shouted, calming down the chatter amongst students. "Right now there's a high possibility that some of your fellow students have died on this test, and worst of all, it was to the threat we have all been training against, the Dalki. The Dalki has been swiftly dealt with, and it seems like this was not a planned attack, but a stray ship. But this is a reminder to you all why we need to train so hard every single day, and I hope you will remember that. You are dismissed, Faye said, ending her speech. But Erin wasn't bothered about any of that. You! She shouted and pointed at Quinn. Why did you hide your strength? If you have fought with us that day instead of hiding under that umbrella, we would have gotten a better score. And what's with your strange power? How did you heal Peter? He should have died. No more excuses. I want answers for everything that happened, she screamed. If you were that strong, then why didn't you help? Tears streamed down her face. I think it's best if we all head back to our room, Layla said. We can explain everything there, and I'm sure Peter has a lot of questions of his own. While the first-year students were being informed of what happened, the three generals were having a meeting of their own. Nathan, the head of the first years, Duke, the head of the second years, and the last General Mike, who was head of communications. I wonder how many of your students would have died on that expedition if it wasn't for that Sergeant Leo of yours, Duke said. I doubt you even have the strength to take on a Dalki yourself. Are you upset because you can't bribe him to come over to your side with one of those Earth ability books of yours? Nathan replied. It's a pity that your tactics of recruiting only work on those weak-minded fools. But then the one person who could calm them down entered the room. The door swung wide open, and a middle-aged man wearing a business suit came walking in. We welcome the head general, they all said at once. The head general proceeded to sit down in his seat as he brought up an initial report for all three of them to see. We all know these odd attacks have been happening on our beast planets for a while. Every single time an attack takes place, they seem to be getting closer and closer to our starting planet. Do you think they're aiming for the city station? Mike asked. For now, I believe these solo Dalki are just sent as scouts. They have no clue how strong we have become in this time frame, and they have no clue what security measures we have. But I fear this may mean that the war will be starting again soon. In a couple of weeks, we have a visit from Mr. True Dream, which means I will need you to prepare some students for him. The three generals gave awkward glances at each other as they heard this piece of news. Duke, I expect you to do well like you always have, the head general said. It was already night, but there was still some time left for the group to talk before their curfew would start. Therefore, they all decided to head to the boys' room to discuss what on earth had happened during the fight with the Dalki. The three boys promptly sat on Vorden's bed while the two girls sat on Quinn's. I suppose I should be the one who starts explaining first, Quinn said while standing up. He moved towards the center of the two groups. Recently, as you may all know, Vorden and I have entered the Red Portal planet. While we were there, I discovered a strange ability book, one that allowed me to control shadows. It was a strange book because it disappeared the moment I learned the ability. Quinn then tapped the surface of his wristwatch 3 times. The number suddenly changed from a 1 to a 6. When he tapped it another 3 times, it changed back to 1 again. I knew it, Erin said. But why did you have to hide it from us? At that point, Quinn took a deep breath. That's because I have an even bigger secret that I was hiding. I'm a vampire, Quinn said, looking at Erin and Peter with a nervous look on his face. So, this is what you guys came up with to try to give an excuse why Quinn didn't use his powers? She said. Well, I'm not buying it. I don't believe that a human that needs blood to survive exists. If there were such creatures as vampires, why haven't they revealed themselves to the world already? Erin then went towards the door, pulling it open before saying her final words. You guys disappoint me. I was starting to think that we were a team, not a bunch of liars. With that, she closed the door behind her and stormed off. Do you think she'll tell anyone? Quinn asked. Are you kidding? With a reaction like that? Vorden replied. She didn't even believe it herself. Well, how did we expect her to react? Oh, it's okay. You can have my blood anytime. She's not Layla, for goodness sake. I'll go up and check on her, just to make sure she doesn't tell anyone. I'll give you an update about it tomorrow, Quinn. Although Erin didn't seem to believe it, Peter, for some reason, did. He didn't know how to explain it, but ever since he had left, his body felt different. There was some sort of connection that he felt between Quinn and him. The last thing that convinced him was the fact that he wasn't dead. Quinn, does it mean that I'm a vampire now too? Peter asked. Just what was a vampire ghoul? Quinn thought. I'm afraid it isn't good news, the system said. Out of all the possibilities he could have turned into, this was the outcome I was hoping for the least. The system's words didn't give Quinn great hope, and what he was about to hear lessened his optimism even further.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.